Hello again, guys. Welcome back. This picture you're seeing is from Milford Common, part of Cannock Chase. And yeah, I mean, it looks like something straight out of the Ice Age, doesn't it? So primitive looking, so kind of chunky, and looks like it was built by cavemen. But this is where people walk their dogs every day, children play, families come, and people walk past it. I mean, the car park is like there, where I'm indicating. So this is like less than 100 meters from the car park. People walk past this every day and they don't even look at it. And I'm the weirdo who goes and films it, and they probably just think I'm bonkers. And there's absolutely no explanation for what these things are. So I went day before yesterday, Saturday, and filmed these. It was absolutely freezing cold. These are not survival structures. These are something else. There, a snap, that's like 15 feet off the ground. Snap right next to the car park, which I have come to realize is normally where these structures are placed, right next to houses, right next to car parks, roads, whatever. So, don't know what that means. Quite beautiful though. I like them. You can see other ones in the background. This one here is another one, right next to, close by to the that other one. You see them in the background, look, they're everywhere. I filmed them here in the summer, and I think these are new ones that they've just put up now in the last, well, who knows, but pretty recently. Quite a substantial bit of work gone into that. I mean, these are big pieces of wood, heavy, and nobody ever sees people making them, ever. And what purpose? You tell me, right? This is 18. The maximum height of this is like 18 inches off the ground. What purpose does that serve? You're telling me Boy Scouts are sleeping under that? Or that Bigfoot is hiding in there, waiting for deer to walk past, and then he leaps out and it's just rubbish. It's not a blind. These are holes that have been dug by someone or something. They are digging holes, they're getting old bottles and stuff out of the ground. And there's actually an animal hole, it looks like. A rabbit hole. There's no rabbits around there, but somehow there's some kind of hole they've discovered inside. About the size of a rabbit hole. Snaps. And this kind of weird lean-to. This is all right next to Milford Common. Giant snap there. So don't believe the shills that tell you that these are survival structures. It's just nonsense. Here's a massive pole made out of a tree, and this is a couple of 100 meters away from Milford Common, quite close to the road where a lot of people walk, but this is on a very steep slope, and there's a kind of a path that goes up here, and on this very steep slope where nobody would go because it's so steep. I mean, I had trouble, keeping my footing. Somebody's been on this slope, they've wedged this tree, they've turned it into a pole, stripped off all the little branches, wedged it in the fork of this tree here, and they've been just flinging these poles, that have been made out of pine trees, all over the place, and there's a lot of weird burn marks that impossible to explain because nobody would build a fire up there. It's on a slope. You wouldn't be able to sit there and have a campfire. So somebody's wedged an entire tree there in the fork of that other tree, that birch tree. It's massive. I don't know if I could lift it. Probably take a couple of men to lift it. Looks like it's been chewed at the end and scratched. Some kind of cross marks on it. It's on a very steep slope. Can anybody offer an explanation? So this is kind of steps they've cut into it, because you can hardly keep your footing if you try and walk off this, on the side here where there's no steps. Very steep. You need a handrail, you see. But somebody's been busy and active on the edge of this steep slope, breaking trees off, shaping them, throwing them about. Very, very odd. If anybody can explain this, I'd like to hear it. Even stranger, all these burnt trees and bits of burnt wood. And this is definitely charcoal scorching. This is not some kind of black fungus. They've been scorched, flung about. Base of the tree has been burnt. There's no campfire nearby. Somehow they've burnt the base of all the trees. Burnt, scorched. Scorched quite badly. Scorched, all of them on that particular side. Can you explain that, how that might occur? On a very steep slope. What is going on? Burnt pieces of wood everywhere. These people, they walk past there every day with their dogs. They never look at anything. They never notice this stuff. People just don't notice what's around them. There's a whole burnt tree there, turned into a pole. How's that got burnt? Look at it. There's another one there, and another one. They're all over. Burnt. Why are they burnt from the ground? And only one side? How do you create that kind of fire? Now, I've heard people talk about fake fire pits, and I just found, as I walked on a bit further along, I'm kind of going parallel to the road that goes to, it must be the Lichfield Road, is it? From Milford to Rugeley, or from Milford to Lichfield, so it's probably the Lichfield Road. I don't know what the name of it is. Anyway, I walked along parallel to that road and came across this kind of fake fire pit, or just a collection of stones, who knows. Very close to the trail, though. Identical looking rocks somebody's collected for whatever purpose. Right next to the trail. Not the most popular spot for dog walkers, but people do come along there. And then I climbed up a little bit up the hill and saw this area that looked like somebody had been there and broken up a load of trees and stuff. And I found this kind of leaner here. Quite a big piece of pine tree leaning up against a birch. And then immediately this guy came along with his dogs. Bits of burnt wood strewn about again.
Hello, doggy.
These guys they completely blanked me, these two men. Probably just thought I was a nutter. But somebody's been there breaking up wood and stuff, laying it around. Burnt this huge log, look at that. It's been burnt at the base, this tree trunk. And there's more remains of burnt wood strewn about. So somebody's been up there doing something at that spot. A huge log, all burnt. How's that happened? Massive log. Tree trunk, really. Burnt. This spot is just down the hill from that last spot where I showed you, and it's got this weird kind of cross structure there, that weird leaner. It just feels like somebody's been busy there moving stuff around. kind of chewed off stump that's been wedged into the ground that hasn't grown there, that's been stabbed into the ground. And then a lena right next to it. And this weird looking arrangement of bent branches, it's all been bent down and backwards and tangled up together. And there's a kind of game trail going through it. You can hear the sound from the road. The road is down that bottom of that hill. It's the bottom of the slope. We're on a steep slope here and it's down the bottom. Just back up a bit. Okay, we'll stop the video there. You see this stump here? That is a fence post, and attached to it is barbed wire, or some kind of wire, steel wire. Now what they do, I don't know why they bother, but all over Cannock Chase they're always putting fence posts up with wire to sort of separate certain areas. And all the time you find that it's been trodden down, stamped down and destroyed, and there's just remains of old fence posts everywhere with wire stamped down. Now the only thing that can stamp down that wire fence is a human boot, right? Something with a tough broad foot that can stamp it down. People say a deer. I'm telling you, a deer cannot stamp down a barbed wire fence or a steel wire mesh fence. A little deer with little dainty cloven hoof deer, there's no way it's going to stamp down a steel fence. But invariably, everywhere you go, all the fences are routinely stamped down, and for some reason they keep making them up again. The Forestry Commission or whoever's in charge, and people will step over them when they're already kind of stamped down partially. But I wonder if it's all been stamped down by humans, or something there with big tough feet has been routinely going around and just doesn't like these fences and stamping them down. I don't know, I'm just saying. Wherever you go, the remains of old stamped down, destroyed fences. In this area here, there's just this kind of primitive lean-to structure. They just like to lean sticks up against things just everywhere. Another primitive lean-to. Very primitive, very simple. Perhaps it was more complex and better made, years ago, and it's degenerated over time. But you come to these spots and you just get a feeling that somebody's been there and they've modified the whole area, all the trees in this particular little spot. And then you find the same type of structures all around. So this is a ridge above the road. The road is down there in that valley. You can see it's all trodden down here. So there's been activity. Primitive lean-to. Not for shelter. No way. Now check this out. This is on a slope, right? So this is a tent, a torn up tent that's been placed here because I don't think anybody would pitch a tent on this slope here, and it's not pegged into the ground. So it's been dragged here, it's been dumped here by someone. Another abandoned tent. Now you tell me, this is a good quality tent as well. I did a video of the torn up camp where I showed a tent that had been slashed and abandoned, and just the other day when I was up there, I didn't film it, but I found another abandoned tent in a kind of spooky, off the beaten track bit of woods I was exploring. I didn't film it, but then I came across this, and yet another expensive tent. This is not some cheapo. You gotta understand, right? Why are these people going up to Cannock Chase, pitching a tent, and then just, oh yeah, let's go home, and I can't be bothered to take the tent with me? Why would you live like a 70 or 80 quid or 100 quid tent? You just can't be bothered to pack it up. You just leave it there. It's very, very strange to me. But I find all these abandoned tents. But this one seems to have been dragged here and placed here, because this is a spot where there's been a lot of modification. Like there's a massive, whatever you'd call that, a snap, an entire tree snapped. Now you remember at the torn up camp there were trees broken off, right? And then there's poles, and like somebody's been in there breaking branches, and they've placed this tent here. And it looks like an expensive tent as well. It's just the inner part of the tent. I don't know what the rest of it is, but it's not some cheap festival tent that you just throw away, buy them from Argos for £5. And then they put this strap here as well next to it. So it suggests to me that both the strap and the tent have been brought to this spot. And then there's this burnt tree stump. What the hell is that all about? And then there's this wedged in here, a pole wedged in there. So somebody's been messing around at this spot, and they've gathered up these things and brought them there. And then there's it's the same picture every time. Giant pole. And it's on a steep slope. You see how steep that is? Nobody would pitch a tent there. This looks like it's been burnt. It's like somebody's got a blowtorch on that and just burnt it. Can anyone explain that? That's burnt at the base of that tree as well, on one side. Very strange. So that's at that spot, and that's all I filmed that day. That's Milford Common. Let me just show you on the map. So now you can see the place I'm talking about. This is Milford Common, part of Cannock Chase. Let's have a look at the map. Okay. Right, so now you can see what I'm talking about. There's sort of Stafford over here. That's Stafford. Over there in that direction. There's Rugeley there. Lichfield and to the right. Milford Common. Milford Common right there. So I come off here, park here. And then I was walking the A513, that's it. So I was walking along here, along this bit of high ground here, parallel with the road to Lichfield, the A513. And I got probably, a mile or two along here. Along here, almost as far as there. I would say. So I got to maybe about here, walking along here, where I found all those structures, so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, that puts it in a bit of context for you. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and let me know any thoughts you have, any comments in the comments section, and I'll catch you next time.